Hey everybody, oh my gosh, it's Tuesday.
Oh my gosh, it's the Thursdayest Tuesday ever though, because there is a holiday later this weekend. So I guess I should say welcome to this week's edition of the Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And welcome to, I guess, our Thanksgiving edition of the podcast. So we are here this evening and we always start out with a fishing report. And so I guess what I'll say is out of the entire last year, I almost hesitated because I was like, is this true? And I think almost, yeah. This is the one time that our boat, it's put away, but it's not ice. So this past weekend, we did all kinds of things around the house. And I don't know, you tucked the boat away and cleaned out some of the things. And it's just all that piddly stuff that's between seasons. But I think that's something that a lot of people really can identify with. But I think a lot of people are out there doing the more fun part of getting the shacks out and charging up the gear and going through ice rods and all that awesome stuff that's more preparing for ice than putting away the open water.
Yeah, I did that stuff already. All of our ice stuff is ready to go. No, and we're, like you said, there's a holiday this coming Thursday. We just got done with a holiday here in Wisconsin. Deer opener was this weekend, so it's been a whirlwind of the last few days since last Thursday.
You called it a holiday.
Yeah.
Why Wisconsin a holiday?
It's a Wisconsin holiday. Yeah, so no, it's been quite the adventure around here. I sat a little bit, didn't see anything. So on to fishing, I guess. It looks like the extended forecast for us is looking awesome. I know I saw some of our buddies. Nick Lindner was out on some ice, I saw. I'm going to be guessing that we're going to be checking some ice this weekend because it looks like between now and Monday, there's going to be highs in the 20s and then even the teens and then lows in the single digits. So, I was just checking my little chart at work for ice versus temperature and then building in 24 hours. And yeah, we're going to be putting on some ice pretty quick here.
But I think that people are getting excited, but this is the warning to not be too excited because with the holidays, sometimes people have off and they're bound and determined to travel north far enough to find ice. And, I would have to say that we are not there yet. Yeah. So this past week I was hearing somebody who was local to the area. They were talking about, deer hunting season, but they weren't hunting. They just saw some deer outside the back of their house actually, but that the deer, something spooked it and then it ran across the pond that they have in their backyard. And they said, it's not that small of a pond, right? But they were so scared that this deer was going to get out there, fall through, and it made it all the way across the pond. So that is interesting. That is a little bit more ice than I thought. I thought we just had skim ice, but as first ice always goes, very, very, very inconsistent, depending on the lakes, depending on the water temperatures, depending on, our conditions. We've had rain now for almost 24 hours. And so that is really going to shake things up. But like you said, we are going in the right direction and we're ready for it.
Yeah. So now we got all that out of the way. You want to tell everybody the unfortunate news about this evening?
Well, I think honestly our guest had something come up. And so we are going to do a few highlights because we are so excited for the Expo and Jiffy is going to be one of the vendors at the Expo. So I think we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I always do have to do a call. So wherever people are at home, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, let us know your fishing report. So, or ice report, or if you've gone out or looked or anything like that, because especially this time of year, we love to see those trends across that ice belt and the growing ice that's coming. So let us know where you're at and how it's going, and we'd love to talk about it. So yeah. I guess without further ado, yeah. So do you want to switch screens? I guess we will show a few of the things that we're really excited about, right? Because like we said, Jiffy, we're not exactly sure what came up, but they couldn't actually be with us this evening, and that is totally okay. But we're going to do a few highlights because I think, one of the things about expos is that people get so excited for new stuff. And, we've talked about quite a few things already this year, this podcast season, that are new that you're going to see at the Expo. But I know that this is one that people really want to talk about. So I heard some rumors that the shacks might be online only.
Yep.
But I know that they're going to have staff there. They're going to have a booth there. They are going to have some of the new stuff there. And so you're going to be able to come and ask questions.
Yeah. Or, like Emily said, it'll be online only. So, if you want to talk with the guys and get an order set up online, I'm sure they can help you do that. Those guys are all the guys that are working there are pretty knowledgeable. So, they can probably help you out if you're looking to get into one of these things.
And I guess as far as industry news, this is a hot topic. And so I was just saying to Josh before the show, the one thing I won't do is just read the website to you, because you guys can all go and do that. But I think especially for the shacks, this is something I would love. Can you maybe poke around on the website, find out? This new shack is something that people are dying to talk about. And I think that there's a few different reasons for that. And I guess let's start with the outside, that there's like actually a fly on it, or that you can get for it. And so all these people that are doing ice camping, all of these people that are doing like extreme weather, if you're way up north, this is one of those things that's really going to help prolong. Oh, this is not even the fly I was talking about, but this is a really nice feature that you can also add. What do you call this?
This is what they call the vestibule. I thought that's what I guess. You were talking about the yellow thing.
The yellow thing. Yeah, there's actually like a fly
they don't really mention that.
Protected.
Yeah, we can go back to that. So I'm just gonna. So there's there's two shacks. There's the 660 and the 980. I'm gonna, since a lot of people are looking to do some ice camping, I think we're just gonna stick with the 980 for most of it. It has 122 square feet, I think.
That full door that people are looking for.
You
can see that really nice picture with the cot set up, and so there's all kinds of space. But that's something you can find in shacks these days.
Yeah, I mean, this is all pretty standard stuff. Here's that waterproof cover that Emily was talking about. So not that the original lining of the shack, right, isn't waterproof, but I think what this is meant for is extended days. Like if you're spending 4 or 5 nights out there and you get a bunch of snow on and it's sitting on top, this is just an extra layer of protection. And no matter how small of a gap, there's still going to be a little bit of an air gap. So it'll really prevent the stuff from the condensation from accumulating. There's a couple other cool features that they put in there. There has been the access ports for the propane. That's been a fairly standard feature in a lot of brands, but the dual heat the dual heat ports. So this is something that's going to be what the diesel heater guys are going to really appreciate. So that's something that has been talked about as far as a safer option to running propane. But you do have to have it ventilated, and so they've thought that in there. And then, like, here's one that really doesn't escape my eye. An oversized bag. There's something to be said about that. I know there's like 1 or 2 other brands that do have oversized bags as well. But that's when you can get a little bit extra bag than you need. It makes it so much easier to put your stuff away, especially after it's been set up for a few days and it's all frosty. And
I think that's the key, because when you just set it up and take it down, like in your backyard or whatever, that's fine. That's not too bad to get back in that bag. But once things start to really freeze up and frost over, and it is just really hard to compact it back in. So when you have enough space to get it in and cinch it down, that's going to work out. So looking forward to that. But I guess as far as some of this, there's some exciting details here. But I think, where we almost went before is all of the additions that you can get for it. And some of them really do feel like additions and even add space. So this is called a vestibule. And I always think of it like a front porch. So I don't know if that's... I guess that's true.
So according to this, it adds another 39 square feet. So that'll bring you up to 150 square feet of usable area if you have this addition on to the 980. It's a really nice thing to have. I think showing the cooking on here is really cool. That's a good idea because a lot of people are like cooking inside the shack, which is fine, but then, you know, it can get smoky or whatever. This gives you a little bit of top coverage, and then some good ventilation for cooking. And you can just keep your stuff out of your shack, right? More walking around room, more fishing room in the shack.
Jiffy vestibules are intended to extend the operating length of your base camp.
You can watch that but
later,
no, but it just zips onto the front door, so that's really cool. Just a good place to leave all the, you know, the quote unquote outside stuff outside, but it's still covered, so it's not going to get covered in snow. So in addition to that, they have something called the sled shed. So this is just a little bit less fancy vestibule. Adds 29 square feet, and the side opens up so you can slide your sled in and out, so you can keep the snow off of, you know, like it shows here, like your live scope and your auger and all that stuff, and you can keep it outside without it getting snowed in. So all this stuff adds up to keeping your stuff dry.
You know what's so funny? And that's a terrible picture because if you look close on your screen, it's like a super snowed in sled that they're pushing under there. And I guess sometimes in case you don't want it to fill up, right? But in the case where you're out there and it is snowing, I mean, that's going to keep it off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think they all come with their own carrying bags. So, those are two really cool accessories that come with it. It looks, just quickly here, it looks like they have a stove jack kit. So if you don't know what that is, that's just a kit so you can use your mini wood stove in there. Hot tent guys, that's what they like to use, and this will allow you to use that in your shack, which this tells me that they must have removable windows, which is a nice feature. You know, we use Otter because they have the removable windows. I know Eskimo has the removable windows. It's nice for cleaning them. It's nice for replacing if they do get a hole in it or something. So that's just another added feature. What else we got? Come on.
Well, I think even that, like we kind of zoomed through that a little bit quickly because I think people kind of have heard little bits about this. And certainly they can check out this website themselves. But so many nice details. I feel like I've been saying this every podcast lately, but this is our favorite thing is when you can find a product for ice fishing that feels like it's made by ice fishermen, right? And so in the past, there's been a lot of different tent options, and some of them have been really super great, to be honest. But in this case, some of these details just feel like ice fishing. When you have a place to store your sled, or even, you know, what else that's great for is if you do use propane and you just don't want it to get all snowed in, you know, that's any of those little things that you can park around. But just still have that mobility of that collapsible shack. So, I mean, it's some really, really great details on things that are otherwise old favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is it's good to see Jiffy back in the game. They kind of fell off the map there for a little bit, and it's nice that they're coming back and kind of rebranding themselves as a complete ice fishing line, not just augers. So, it'll be exciting to see how they kind of get back into the swing of things.
Yeah. And like we said, you know, at the Wisconsin Ice Fishing Expo, they're going to have a booth. They're going to have all kinds of products there. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have whatever, make sure that you're ready. Come and ask them, come and chat about all of these things because they will be excited to see you as well. And I guess with that, the other thing, you know, maybe is this a good time to do a little bit of chatting about early ice season?
Yeah, we can if we want. If you guys want to sit and chat, I mean, I think that's kind of what we have for the Jiffy show. You know, like Emily said earlier in the show, like they had something come up. So, you know, come down to the expo and talk to the guys down here. They're going to be awesome to talk to about all this stuff. They're excited.
And they are excited. And so are we. And so we kind of, you know, what's so crazy. Oh my gosh, we were just about to transition, but we actually maybe just saw Tony pop in. So we don't normally do this to our guests, but let's bring him in live.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, how's it going, you guys?
Good.
I have to apologize. We have two 5-year-olds, and it's bedtime, and I was going through bedtime, and I looked and I saw your text, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta run. So I apologize for the delay.
No, absolutely not a problem. We tried to do our best to
To
fill
touch
in
on
for
some
you,
things
but
we
we're
were
obviously
excited
not
about,
Tony. So
Well, I apologize. Thanks for
no,
your
you're good.
patience in
You're
that.
good.
Time slips away sometimes. 5-year-olds have a way of doing that in a fun
Mhm.
way, right?
I think that's something that a lot of people can identify with, though, is, they have families to drag out on the ice. They have, friends to drag out on the ice. When you have people who don't know what they're doing, oh my gosh, it can become a lot of work. But, you have a lot of different products to help make that easier.
Right, absolutely. And it's looking now, at least in Wisconsin, like we might be using them pretty soon.
Yeah, we were just saying that.
Well, and that is
Mhm.
actually really cool because you guys are local to Wisconsin. And so we talk about Wisconsin Ice Fishing Expo, but you really are Wisconsin through and through.
Yeah, absolutely. One fun fact with that, so I'm looking at everything, and of course, this is the time of year when we're all looking at weather and all those fun things, and hopeful and crossing our fingers, and maybe put a deer in the freezer, maybe get ready for first ice. There's so many great things this time of year. But have you guys seen some of the forecasts for snow, like up in the UP?
Yeah, they were saying
20 to 40 inches.
yeah, yep. They're getting
Oh my
snowed
God.
on from tonight all the way through Monday, it sounds like.
Like,
I didn't hear
could
that.
be 40 inches before
Yeah.
December. It's wild.
Well, for the past few years, all these small towns have been just hoping for great snowmobiling conditions because that really gets people out there. But I think honestly, sometimes snowmobiling gets even people out on the lake because it gives them even one more destination to get out to. So I'm kind of hoping for the same.
Definitely.
So, Tony, you want to kind of give us a background about yourself and maybe a little bit on what you do with, I know you work kind of with Expo primarily, but are you going to be doing a little bit with Jiffy too?
Yeah, so I'm the brand manager for Eskimo, Jiffy, and Ion, which means I help with a lot of the marketing direction and things like that with the branding and the positioning, and it goes into R&D and things like that too. So I'm fortunate to be doing that. I started with Artisan back, well, as a pro staffer back in, I think, 2005, 2006, and then and worked in sales and marketing and other disciplines. And then in 2010, late 2010, early 2011, kind of went on full time and have worked in sales and marketing with those brands for a long time. And it's been really, really fun. I not only feel fortunate to be a part of the fishing industry, but it's been really fun just to watch the growth of not only those brands and certainly recently the acquisition of Jiffy, but the growth of our sport as well, right? There's just so much stuff that has changed in the last 15 years with ice fishing that it's a great time to be an ice angler.
Yeah, that is for sure. Especially with ice season coming up. Yeah, it's all cold.
Right.
Excited. So I think there's a lot of excitement this year though around Jiffy. And there's a lot of new stuff out. Sometimes it feels like companies, drop one or two things and sometimes that's cool. But I feel like Jiffy just like dropped a whole big bunch of stuff and was like, we're back.
It is. Yeah, this is an entire rebrand for Jiffy. So we bought Jiffy a couple years ago in July, and we're working through some of the other inventory that, that they had and working through just a plan, right? We knew we wanted to kind of put some new life into Jiffy, yet stay true to its roots, right? And stay true to who those customers are. So this has been a couple years in the making. And for a lot of us in Cumberland, in Cumberland, Wisconsin, at our headquarters, it's really kind of a sigh of relief because we've all known this was coming and we've been working on it for a couple of years, and now finally everybody gets to see all the great new stuff out there. So you guys are right. It's an entirely I would call it a brand relaunch with a lot of things that are true to the roots of Jiffy, and we could talk about that, but also just a lot of new innovation and maybe serving some market areas that aren't or haven't been served really well in the past, or maybe we saw some opportunity there. Like you'll see a lot of it with the shelters around ice camping, which geez, Jiffy shelters, right? That's new. That's new in itself. But yeah, and then the augers are 60-volt augers. They've got a lot of the technology that we've been able to really kind of maximize and hone in with our other brands, but a lot of unique features to them as well. So totally redesigned from the ground up, and it's fun to talk about.
One of the things that I heard you mention there is that a lot of this is rooted or has the roots in Jiffy. And I think that's a really cool nod to give because, there are just some names in the fishing world that you think of and it just is like nostalgic, right? And I feel like Jiffy is one of them. And so I guess tell us more about what you mean, like the nods to the roots.
Well, so like for example, you'll look at the auger and kind of just the way it's built. Jiffy, there's still a lot of people who say, "Yep, my first auger was a Jiffy. It was handed down from my grandpa to my dad to me, and they're still out there running, right?" So first, they just had to stand the test of time, right? They had to be rugged, they had to be durable, and kind of fit that bill. But then there's little things like if you look at the blades, right? It's more of a chipper hybrid blade for that performance, in that dirty ice, which Jiffy's always been known for. So I think it's things like that really sticking true to Jiffy's always been a tough, rugged, durable product. It's not necessarily the lightest auger on the market. It's still light. It's kind of within a couple pounds of what we have in our other products and what's out on the market. But it's kind of that overbuilt heavy duty. It's a Jiffy, right? You buy it and it's built to last, right? So it's got the big beefy handlebars. It's 60 volt, right? So they've always been known for being pretty powerful augers, right? So it's definitely gonna outperform in a lot of ways what's in the market and on the market already. So I think it's kind of that way, staying true to the roots, obviously the look, the aesthetic, the colors, staying true to that, but also with some refreshes and some updates to them, which in what we feel in a good way, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so all of those like tried and true and I guess like tested by time, does that carry through into these tracks? Like even though they're brand new, are they built for the elements also?
Yeah, definitely. And the shelters, they feature like a ripstop fabric, right? They're big, they're really well built. They're designed to stay out like for extended stay camping or extended stay on the ice, right? So there's some features of them that it's like we've got the rain fly on them, which we call the sleet sheet, and then we've got the sled shed, which is an option that goes in the back. That's kind of an accessory for being able to store stuff and keep it out of the elements, and a vestibule up front, which is pretty cool. That helps for like cooking or just extra storage. But from the roots of it, it's got ripstop fabric. It's really, really kind of heavy duty. There's really nothing on the market that is built quite like that with the ripstop and some of those other features. And again, that goes back to the Jiffy roots, right? Jiffy through it all. It's kind of one of those things where that was the tagline that we inherited when that brand came over, and we've kept that, and we're really sticking true to that. Like your Jiffy augers, just it's got to last through it all. Your shelter, it's got to make it through it all. And so there's a lot of important things that we've really tried to be mindful of. It's not, sometimes people will ask, well, you guys have 3 different brands, aren't they just the same products? No, they're not. They're all purpose built. They're all unique to kind of different use cases, different customers, and serve different areas in the market. Now, we're fortunate enough to be able to pull a lot of the same technology out of them and pull a lot of the a lot of the advancements that our engineers have come up with. We're able to integrate those, but we kind of do it differently in each one of the products, just based on use case and being true to the brand and kind of what its roots are.
So I apologize. I'm going to do a little bit of jumping here because we have
No, you
a
did.
comment, but then I want to come back and talk more about Shaq. So, Chris is, actually asking back about augers. So a 10-inch auger, do you happen to know what it weighs?
I'm going to pull that. I should have had my specs kind of ready and laid out in front of me.
No, that's okay. One of the things, and we'll tell people at home this, I always tell our guests that I'm going to try to not put people on the spot, right? And so the funny thing is when you're like at an expo and you're like, how much does something weigh? And all the boxes are there and you can just turn around and be like, oh, here you go, right?
I should have had it ready, and you guys got to remember it was a full day. Then I came home and dealt with kids, so my brain is slightly tired now, but it is right around 20 pounds. I'll get the exact weight, 20.4. So I didn't want to underspec it, but they're both right around 20 pounds. With these new polymer flights, there's really not much difference in the weight between, one versus the other, to 8 versus 10, just because that used to be the weight differential, was just that extra flighting. Well, now that flighting is so much lighter that it's minimal. But yeah, they both weigh in right about 20 pounds. So nothing too crazy. Certainly about half the weight of maybe your grandpa's Jiffy for sure, but a lot more performance.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah, that is for sure. Awesome. So sorry to do this. I'm gonna jump back to those shacks.
Yeah.
Well, and so I guess, one of the things that we were talking about actually before you got here is that I feel like this is a product that is made by ice fishermen for ice fishermen, because for years and years and years, there have been great options in shacks. Quite frankly, there's some great options out there.
Oh yeah.
But some of these extra additions that you guys have here really just kind of go the extra mile to make it, I don't know, more useful, better.
Yeah, it really does. Our entire team, and we're fortunate, right? We've got what I still consider to be a pretty young group in our engineering and our product team and our ice fishing team at Artisan, but a lot of them have been there for 10 plus years, right? Even though they might be in their, early to mid 30s, they've been there, right? And so that team, we really sort of take a look at the market from all different angles, right? Like we look at it, we certainly pay attention to what people are asking for online, and what kind of products they see missing. We look at what mods people are making and see if there's an opportunity to maybe make a product to solve whatever problem they're trying to solve. We love talking to people at shows, certainly, and kind of getting the feedback there. And, that's always great feedback. We always bring our engineers to the shows and our team, and we'll always download afterwards. We'll always have a meeting or two when we get back and say, hey, what kind of stuff are you hearing? What are people liking? What are they not liking? What kind of requests are we getting? So it really is, a lot of it comes from the customers themselves, but to that point, all of us are the customer. All of us are ice anglers, right? And so a lot of the features in this came twofold. Came from us being out on the ice and ice camping and doing some testing, and then also, a lot of our team will head out west and hunt. And you're setting up, and in fact, that's part of where the name came from. You're setting up base camp, and you have to be ready to rock, right? You've got to have all your gear protected, which is kind of where that sled shed came from. I mean, if you're in northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, UP for the next couple of days, right? You get a foot of snow dumped into your stuff, and it kind of causes a mess. So being able to have that protective barrier out of the back. Another example is that vestibule, right? We talk about that vestibule. That's an option that goes on the front of that shelter, which is great for cooking. It's great for extra storage. It's great for if you want to leave boots there and not track water into the shack. It's all those things. But really, we've all cooked and fried fish or grilled out, whatever, and it's cold outside or windy, so you have to cook inside. Well, if you're doing that inside in the same shelter that you're going to spend the night in, man, that thing usually stinks, right? Especially if you're cooking fish. So it was like, well, hey, how can we set it up so that we're going to have enough room in that shelter for camping, for the sleeping portion, the fishing portion, and then all the other stuff. So that was sort of how some of those ideas came about. You're 100% right, Emily. Our team definitely, I would consider all of them super users, and unfortunately, we have to work a lot, but when we're not, we're all out on the ice using this stuff. So,
but this is one of those really cool things that, like, I guess as a company, you guys get to go to the ice expos and tell the customers, like, you were heard, because people have been
yes.
coming forward or like wanting these things, or like you're saying, modding these things, not even realizing that they're asking for them, right? But I think one of the things that people don't realize is how much work goes into all of this. Like, you can't just like snap your fingers and like next year like come out with all these new products. Like the design, all of this, so much work goes into this. So it's so cool to kind of see this come out and have these different options. And I know that people are going to be excited about it. But I did also hear a rumor. I heard that these might not be at the expo, that they might be online only. Is that true?
Yeah, this year they are available on the website only at Jiffy, at the Jiffy website. A lot of it had to do with timing, and because we're testing some new stuff, right? Some new concepts and ideas, and we're really excited about them. But available on the Jiffy website, and if you, I don't know if you heard this or not, but I think maybe on Friday people might want to check the website because there might be some special stuff going on Black Friday. I can't talk about it right now, but I would say stay tuned for that for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely stay tuned. Yeah. Okay, but I do have a few more questions while we have you. So, when we're talking about all of these different accessories and stuff, first of all, those make really great gifts. So, if you know somebody in your life and they're going to get one of these shacks anyways, then this is a great go with. But I guess the other thing that I'm wondering is how do these pieces like all attach together?
Right. So and there we have some videos out, and I know Alex Tim did a nice video on it and showed it, but it's pretty seamless, right? So for example, the sleet sheet that I talked about, that's sort of the call it a rain fly that goes over it just to really give it that extra layer of protection. That one just clips on down around the hub. It's quite simple, and it's something that you can leave on. You don't have to take off. Right. So you can actually collapse the shelter, put it in the bag, and leave that right on if you want. Or you can use the shelter just like any other shelter without that if you don't want that on there too. And one nice advantage of that is if you want to have a little bit something a little brighter that stands out, you can put that on there. If you just want it to be more of a black shelter, then you can do it that way. The sleet sheet or the vestibule, there it has some poles in it that are like camping tent poles, and they kind of go in the front, which kind of gives it its structure, and then they just attach onto the shelter as well. So there's attachment points that are quite simple. It is not it's not a crazy process to get them on. There's no tools or anything like that needed. It's just there's different attachment points on the front and back of the shelter for those accessories. So super simple. You know, that's one of the other things that's kind of an advantage of our team out on the ice a lot. They understand that like you can't be hauling around a bunch of extra stuff and it can't be a hassle. Like when we get out there, what do we all want to do? We want to catch fish and we want to start fishing. So it's nice to set up base camp and do it right. But you know, it probably, if you've set up one of the large shelters like those two that we offer on the Jiffy front, I would say it adds less than an extra 5 minutes if you want to put all the accessories on, which in the scheme of things, when you're setting up shop for the weekend or whatever to do some ice camping, you know, not a big deal. And again, that's the nice part about it being separate, because if you're just going out for the afternoon, you don't want to mess with that stuff. You certainly don't need to. So
That is actually really awesome. Yeah. I guess my only other thought is things like the vestibule and I guess even the sled shed. Is that pretty durable even in the wind?
yeah. Yeah, you can anchor them down just like you would any of the other the actual shelter and stuff. So yeah, when we do our testing, we have certain parameters we actually do wind tests on all of our hubs for any different new shelter that we bring out, no matter what the brand. So everything has to kind of pass our wind our wind tunnel testing and those types of things as well. So there's actual pressure tests with like PSI with pounds, but yeah, it'll hold up like anything else or better. They're pretty rugged and durable.
That's actually pretty interesting that you do like wind tests and stuff. To be honest, I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, and pressure tests, right? We can hook them up to a scale and make sure that it's got to have the right pounds of pressure to make sure that it stand up to the elements. So yeah, when you mentioned something earlier, Emily, we didn't talk about it, but you talked about just the thought and the time that goes into them. But yeah, basically it's usually 2 years, right, for us to come up with a product, right? Because there has to be, you have to conceptualize, you have to design it, draw it, then you have to start, testing it, right? And you'll always have different versions of prototypes, and you'll test it and you'll be like, oh man, we should move this over there. And so yeah, it's not like, okay, that's a really good idea, Emily. Thanks for telling us that. Josh, I love that. We're gonna come out with that next year. I mean, you might be able to do that, but it's not gonna. That's when you have problems, right? That's when you have issues with the products. And yeah, we always want, if there's gonna be an issue, we want to find it out and fix it before the customer does, because that's never good.
Well, and I appreciate that you guys took the time after acquiring Jiffy into your family, that like not only did you come out with, you know, a couple designs of augers and a couple designs of shacks, the shack accessories, but then the outside shack accessories, but you also have a whole line of like, you know, you have like put together a floor tile kit, which that's really nice. You know, you can get them, you can get them like piecemeal off other websites, but this
Yeah.
is nice that you have like the whole pack together. You have like the whole, I think you call it the Jiffy Link
Yes.
stuff. So like you came out with all of the things that somebody would want right off the bat, instead of just like, oh, here's a shelter, and then next year here's like one link accessory, and here's another. You know, this, you have all of it ready to go for everybody. So if somebody wants to set it up this year, they'll be set up.
Certainly, yeah, and that was kind of a decision we made. We wanted to really make sure we came out with a splash and had kind of what we'd, we could have done it the other way, where you release a product and then you release one more, and then eventually after 4 or 5 years, everything's just, oh, it's wow, it's like a whole new brand. We just wanted to do it all at once and really kind of hit the ground running with it, because we're doing some different stuff there that we think people are really going to like.
That's awesome.
And
So
that floor tile kit, as a side note, the best thing about that floor tile kit, well, there's two really cool things. So we have half tiles so you don't have to cut holes. You can break. So some of the tiles that come in are half, so you can not have to cut a hole, whether it's 8 or 10 inch for your hole or for your electronics or whatever. So that piece is nice. But that bag, that carrier, is really, I think, the cool thing about that. To your point, everybody makes all the, the tiles. We kind of did on purpose, built and tested them, but we all agreed that the biggest thing that we all struggled with on the ice with the regular tiles was just transporting them, right? Because they're big, they're bulky, and unless you want to take the time to really wrap them up, and they're just all over the place. So that bag is really kind of the key with that.
Well, and I like that you said, that there's the half tiles, that you can customize that floor to however you have that all set up in there.
Yep.
And that's just really nice. So when you have, the vestibule in the front of your shack, you can kick off your boots and come right into that floor like that. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot in the last several years, hasn't it? Like, just, it's you're very comfortable on the ice. And I remember as a kid that wasn't always the case, but we don't, not too many excuses anymore, right?
No.
Boots are better, the apparel's better, the heaters are better, the augers are better, the shacks are better. We're not, yeah. I mean, I remember bringing 3 sets of spark plugs with me with the old snowmobiles everywhere you went, right? Like, knock on wood, I don't remember the last time I followed out a plug. So
Oh my gosh. But Josh, the other thing that you were mentioning was the link. And so I think a lot of people don't necessarily know what that is yet. And so I think we've seen maybe some versions of similar things, but this has some really cool features, some really usable accessories. But I also saw that there is a splitter. And that's something I'm really excited about, because I feel like whenever you like sit down, you have your spot in the shack, and maybe you have your one piece of gear next to you, and that's fine, but I always want more than that. So that splitter, did it turn it into 3? Yeah, look at that. There you go.
yep. So you can put any of the accessories. Yeah. Pictures worth 1,000 words, right?
But that is awesome, because that rattle reel, otherwise that's what I have up there, and that takes up that whole spot. So when I can also have that little shelf, and gosh, a rod holder, that's, oh, I can only dream.
The cool part about these is that you can put those bases. You can get extra sets of bases, which are pretty cheap, but all the accessories come with a base. So you put the bases in, so you get a 2-pack there. You can kind of see that, but you can put them. What I do anymore is, because we did borrow this technology from the Eskimo side, as you kind of pointed out, and it's true. But we've done I think a really nice job over there on the Eskimo side of things, coming out with these accessories, and we're like, we got to make a Jiffy series of these as well. And it's nice because you can put these bases on all your hubs, and you get a couple accessories, and they come with more bases. So then you can literally move them and say, okay, well, I want this over here today, I'm going to move that over there, and the hubs will be able to fold down and collapse with those bases right in them. You just leave them in there. You pull the actual accessory out, of course, but once you get the bases mounted, it's pretty compatible and universal. So you can just move stuff around your shelter as you see fit.
Well, and I guess my other favorite thing about this is, we've kind of already mentioned that rattle reel, but sometimes when you're out there and you are setting up, right, you have the shack, maybe you have cots, maybe you have this, maybe you have that. One of the things that Josh always teases me about, I guess, is, like, you got to get a rod in the water, you got to get bait in the water, and so the nice thing is, if you can get your shack up right away and get at least one hole drilled, you have that ability to get those rattle reels in, and, you're already fishing, even though you're having to set up the rest of your gear.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. If you're out there, you want to be fishing, right? I do the same thing, Josh. I'm like, all right, we at least got to get some tip ups in, or we got to do something if we're going to be over here messing around, because
we don't have that much daylight this time of year. We need to make the most of it.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh.
Oh, okay. So, well, I guess I have to ask. So I know that we said that the shacks are not going to be at the show, and that's okay. Are you bringing augers? Are you bringing the other accessories? Are you bringing anything?
We won't have Jiffy at any of the shows this year. We will be doing demos at Battle on Bago, and so we'll be out there with them. And then, a lot of it came down to just timing this year. It was just a big push for us to get, product here to market. Like I said, it'll be available on Friday for the first time, right? So it was all hands on deck between our launches on the Eskimo side and just getting everything here with all three of our brands. We two brands was always a lot to look after. Now we've got three, right? But yeah, so it was all hands on deck just to kind of get everything here in time. And
yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here and talk with us about all of the stuff, because I know that people have been really excited.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, guys. And I am so sorry for being a few minutes late. Like I said, we were getting kids down, and I looked at my phone. I was like, "Oh boy, it's 7. I gotta run."
No, it's all good. We're glad that everything was all right.
Yeah. Well, and we know that we are still going to see you at the Expo, so that's going to be a great thing. And so we're really looking forward to that. And I know people may have some questions, so we told them to come and still bug you about it, because how could you not?
Definitely. Definitely. Just because we don't have the booth there. If you guys have questions, be in the Eskimo or Ion booth. Probably the Eskimo booth pretty much, all week. So yeah, ask the questions. We love answering them. We love hearing from you. And what I'm really excited about is to start hearing people's experience on the ice with these products, because they're different. They're cool, and we're really excited about them.
Well, and if I don't say so myself, you guys picked out some nice colors for it. So,
well, thank you. They were picked out for us. We tweaked the Pantheons a little bit, but I noticed a similarity there to some colors in the top right corner of the screen.
All right.
That's so funny. Well, we will definitely touch base again through the ice season, and we'll keep our eye on Battle on Bago, because that's going to be so cool. And I know, as far as the website, Josh was able to take that link and post it into the comments section here.
Awesome.
So anybody who is at home and watching and wants to follow along, that'll be an easy click for people to go and check out. And I guess other than that, thanks so much for being here and chatting with us about all this.
Tony.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next couple weeks at the shows.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good. And to the people at home, thank you guys for being here as well. And hope that everyone has a great Thanksgiving, and hope it ices up hard for fishing. We'll see everyone soon.